I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
Killian Hayes is a French basketball player who currently plays in the German basketball league, Basketball Bundesliga. He's projected to be a lottery pick in this year's draft, and in my eyes is one of the most underrated prospects for this class. But how good is he really? In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look into Killian Hayes' professional basketball career so far, his strengths and weaknesses, his NBA comparison, and finally, what teams I think should draft him on draft day. If you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to hit 15,000 subscribers by 2020, so all support is greatly appreciated. But with that all being said, let's talk about Killian Hayes.
Lucas.
Whilst doing research for my mock draft video I made the other day, Killian Hayes instantly became one of my favourite prospects for this draft. I think his name is starting to get a lot more traction lately, and I'll be honest, I may have even underrated him myself in the mock draft video. The reason why I like him so much is because though his stats don't say a lot, the eye test does. Watching Hayes is an absolute joy. He has so many outstanding features to his game many current NBA players do not have. His step back is on point and is extremely reminiscent of James Harden. His passing game gives you flashes of a prime Manu Ginobili. His potential is just sky high. Hayes averaged 11 points and 6 assists this year in Basketball Bundesliga and dominated in the paint with his amazing floater and layup package. But what are the strengths and weaknesses of Killian Hayes? Strengths: finishing. Hayes is great at finishing around the rim and is very creative in doing so. As I mentioned, he has an amazing package of floaters and layups, which makes him very dangerous in this area. If he develops this further, it could perhaps be his biggest weapon at the highest level. Athleticism. Hayes has great athleticism for someone his size and could easily put you on a poster. He also uses this in the open court to push the pace and uses his athleticism and great bursting ability to get speed and blow past defenders on a fast break as well as in the half court. Hayes is also a great ball handler, a solid passer and playmaker overall, and can play adequate defense. It isn't an issue at all. However, Hayes does have some weaknesses. What are they? One great thing about Killian Hayes is that he doesn't really have any major weaknesses that stand out. Sure, his IQ of the game could use some improvement. He could improve his jump shot a fair bit and get stronger, etc. But all of this can be developed at the next level, which is a great sign. His weaknesses aren't major and will be developed at the next level hopefully, which is just so promising to me, and it's why I'm very excited to see him play in the NBA. So those are the strengths and weaknesses of Killian Hayes. Let me know if you agree with them in the comments below, and also be sure to tell me if I missed anything here. With that being said though, let's move on to the next part of the video. Killian Hayes NBA comparison. I have a couple of comparisons for Killian Hayes today. One of them is his ceiling, basically the best player I believe he could become like, and then his floor, the worst player he could become like and is similar to. For his floor, I'd have to say he reminds me of Dante Exum. When Exum hasn't been injured, he's shown quite a bit of promise and he's had some underrated scoring performances these last few years. Hayes reminds me of Exum a lot, the way he plays, etc. But I think he has more in his bag, and Hayes is just overall more creative, so I'd say a more creative Dante Exum is Hayes' floor. For his ceiling, I'd honestly have to say James Harden or Manu Ginobili. As I mentioned, if you've watched Hayes' highlights, he is extremely reminiscent of the way Harden plays, especially in isolation situations, and his passing game is extremely similar to Manu Ginobili, at least in my eyes. If he puts in the effort into these areas and becomes as good as his potential shows, I truly believe he could be like a French James Harden at his best, which is why, as a Rockets fan, I'm very excited to see him develop in the NBA. So that's my NBA comparison for Killian Hayes. I see him as a Dante Exum at worst and a James Harden at best, with a splash of Manu Ginobili if he can keep improving the playmaking side of his game. Let me know your thoughts on that comparison below, and if you have a different one, I'd love to hear that too, but let's move on to the next part of the video. Now, what teams should draft Killian Hayes in the upcoming NBA draft? Well, in my mock draft, I said that the Kings should draft him, and I still think that's a good idea. I believe he'll be a great fit in Sacramento, as the Kings are stacked on centers and wings, but really need another guard to pair up with De'Aaron Fox. Whilst Fox is a good playmaker, he's still a score-first point guard. Hayes can be the playmaker for the Kings and be a solid backcourt pairing with Fox for the future. That's just how I see him fitting though if he were to play alongside Fox, but he'd more than likely come off the bench to start. He'd more than likely transition well into the NBA too, considering he's already played professionally, but that's just my opinion. Another team I also really like Hayes' fit on is Cleveland. The Cavs could use Hayes' playmaking, as their current two guards aren't exactly the best at that, and his addition to Cleveland, if he pans out like his potential has shown, could make their backcourt extremely formidable. The Phoenix Suns could also be a good place for Hayes to end up, as he could learn a lot behind and be mentored by Ricky Rubio, and again, if he pans out like projected, he could be a reason as to why Devin Booker doesn't end up requesting a trade. Booker and Hayes as a backcourt duo is very enticing to me, and would be very interesting to watch. Out of those three teams though, I like Killian Hayes' fit best on Sacramento, then probably Phoenix second, with Cleveland as a close third, but no team here could go wrong with Killian Hayes as their selection on draft night. So overall, here are my thoughts on Killian Hayes. He's one of the most underrated prospects in this year's draft class, and I feel as if he should be recognized a bit more, with his great finishing skills and athleticism that makes him dangerous on a fast break. What's very interesting about Hayes is that he doesn't have a standout flaw in his game. Sure, his defense isn't too consistent and his jump shot could use some work, but nothing is so terrible that it makes him a liability in any area. He reminds me a lot of James Harden, especially in isolation, and you could also make a case for him being like Dante Exum as well, but at his best, Hayes has shown some true flashes of brilliance, and that's what excites me the most about him. Hayes is seen by some as a top 3 pick, and to others is seen as a guy that will just miss the lottery. To me, I think he's a top 10 pick for sure, and I'm a bit annoyed that I underrated him so heavily in my last video. Hayes could easily go top 5, and is arguably a top 5 player in this class skill-wise as well. Will teams at the top of the lottery take a chance on him on draft day? It's hard to say, and European prospects do regularly get looked over. Look at Luka Doncic for an example. All I know is that the hype behind Killian Hayes is starting to rise, and I'm all for it, because if he becomes what his potential promises, he could become one of the steals of this draft. But that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? How good is Killian Hayes to you? Is he a top 5 pick in your eyes? Let me know your thoughts on him down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.